What's up, guys? This is Brent with Western Equipment. Now let's go ahead and jump right on in talking about this John Deere 3035D. So we're going to start here with the model number. I'm going to put it right up here. Now in the model number on the 3035D, the first digit here, the 3, is going to indicate the series in which this tractor falls, which is going to be the 3 series. Now within John Deere tractors, we're going to have the 1 series, 2 series, 3 series, which is what we have here, which is still going to fall in that compact utility tractor. Then we're going to have 4, 5, 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s. So we have that whole lineup there, but this is going to be in that compact utility range. Now the next 3 digits, the 0, 3, 5, this is going to be an indicator of horsepower. We're going to see this as a common denominator across all of those different families of tractors. So having the 35 here in these last 3 digits is going to indicate that this is close to a 35 horsepower tractor, where it's actually going to be a 34.2. Now the last letter here is going to be a D. Now in the 3 series, this is going to be the only series or family in which we're going to see the D series tractor. Now these are going to be unique, as most of our compact utility lineup is going to have a hydrostatic transmission, whereas the D series of tractors actually are going to have a 8x8 sync shuttle type transmission, meaning that we are going to have gears that we have to shift in instead of just having the twin touch pedals that we have on most of our tractors. And I'll show all more about that here in just a minute. But now let's go ahead and get underneath the hood and show you where all of our filters and service points are. Now to get under the hood of these tractors, over on the right hand side, right underneath your headlight, you are going to see a little circle here which has a picture of a tractor with the hood raising up. Now to get this to open up, we are going to want to grab the key of our tractor, or maybe a key that we have in our pocket. We're going to simply stick that in the hole, and then we can raise up here on our hood to be able to get underneath to any of the service points that we need to get to. Now, only raising the hood itself is not going to get us access to every service point. So we can also go here on our side panels. We'll see 2 yellow twists here, little twist locks that we're simply going to twist counterclockwise on both of those. That is going to release them from the side of the engine here, and then we can just pull up and out with both of these panels on either side to expose the rest of the engine and our service points. Now, once we have both side panels removed, we have pretty well full access to anything that we would need to service on the engine itself. So over here on the right-hand side is where most things are going to take place. Over here, we are going to have our engine oil dipstick. Then we're going to have our engine oil fill right in front of that with the orange cap. And then right below that is where we are going to have our oil filter. Then right below our oil filter is where our fuel filters are going to start. So we can see right here, easy to access on the right-hand side, we have 1 fuel filter, then we have our inline fuel filter, and then in front of that we are going to have our water separator filter, which is also going to have our fuel on and off switch. Then if we move up top here in the front, this is where we're going to have our overflow tank for our engine coolant. Right behind that is going to be our radiator and radiator cap. Then if we move down below our overflow reservoir, this is where our battery is going to be located. Now, if you're curious about how you're going to change this battery out, I actually have a video on how to do this on our sister channel on 247parts.com, which I'll put a link to in the description below. But that is not as hard as it looks. We can get that changed out. Now, moving back behind the radiator is where our air filter is going to be located, right here. And then over on our left hand side, we don't necessarily have any service points really over here. We do have access to our alternator, and then up in front of that we are going to have access to a panel here, which is going to have a lot of our wiring harnesses going into it. So that is going to be something that we want to take note of, is that we do have that as well. Now, the engine itself here is, like I said, going to be that 34.2 horsepower. It is a 3-cylinder Yanmar engine, and this 34.2 horsepower at the engine is going to correlate to 30.4 horsepower at our PTO. So whenever we're looking at these tractors and we're trying to determine what do we need, how much horsepower do we need. Those two numbers there are going to be big on what you are going to be using with this tractor and whether this fits you or not, because our rear implements are going to usually be based on what our PTO horsepower is if it is a PTO driven implement, and if not, if it is a towing style implement, we'll want to know what the actual engine horsepower is of this machine. So before I hop on and talk about the operator station, let's talk about the optional loader that can come with this tractor. Now, this is not going to be standard on these tractors. It can be a factory installed option. So this is going to be the 300E loader. So this loader on this tractor is going to have a lifting height of 84 inches or 7 feet. And then also it is going to have a max lifting capacity. And this is at 500 millimeters in front of the pivot point. So this is going to be the length out close to around the front of the bucket here. It is going to have a lifting capacity of 845 pounds. So whenever we are lifting with this loader, we just need to keep in mind that it is going to be limited there to the 845 pound mark. And we also want to make sure that if we are doing lifting, heavy lifting with this loader, that we are making sure that we are properly ballasted in the back. This can be done with a ballast box at the rear. It can be done with wheel weights at the rear, or also filling your tires full of fluid. But just make sure that if we are getting the loader on this tractor and plan on using it for a loader tractor, that we are being safe. All right, so now getting into the tractor, very, very easy. You are going to have the step there right on the floor pan. You're also going to have a handle over here on the side to help with entry. Then of course we have our steering wheel also that we can grab onto when getting into this tractor. But overall, very comfortable. And we also are going to have an adjustable seat here. So we do have a seat slide where we can adjust this either backward or forward depending on the operator, making sure that they're comfortable and able to reach the pedals that they need to reach. So starting over here at the back of the tractor, first thing we point out about the operator station is it does have a ROPS system, which is a rollover protective system. So this is going to be your rollover protection if you get in those situations where you're on a hill or an incline and you happen to get in an upset or overturned situation. This roll bar, as long as it's up, is going to keep that tractor from rolling over on top of you. So it's a good idea that any time that we are on those sloped or inclined areas, that we do have this ROPS folded up into the upright position, because it does have another position where it can be folded back in case we're doing those applications where we're needing to get just a little more clearance. We can roll this ROPS system back. Now the tractor does also have a seat belt on it, so if we are in those situations where we're going to be on those inclines, we want to make sure and have this seat belt on, have our ROPS up. And if we do start to tip one way or the other, we want to lean away from the fall, let the tractor finish, and then we can exit carefully. Now, enough about the ROPS. Let's move on to our different features and the controls here in the operator station. So starting over here to my left, I talked about the handle to get in. Right next to that is going to be a storage area. Now, a lot of times what you're going to find in here when you're buying one of these tractors brand new is going to be the operator manuals. But once we take those out, you do have a nice tool storage area here. Moving to the inside of the tractor, first thing that we're going to see is this yellow capped lever right here. Now this is going to be our PTO engagement. So on a lot of tractors this size, we're going to have an electronic button to engage the PTO. But being as this tractor is an 8x8 sync shuttle style transmission, we are going to have a manual PTO engagement. So just like whenever we're shifting gears on this tractor, everything that we do, whether we're going from forward to reverse, or whether we're changing ranges or gears, same thing with the PTO, since it has to do with the transmission. If we're going to engage this PTO, we must have the clutch pushed down. So PTO lever here, right in front of that is going to be our range selector. So on these tractors, we're gonna have two ranges, an A and a B, and then of course we have neutral in the middle. So our range selector is right here. Then moving down below that is going to be our four-wheel drive engagement. So yes, these tractors do have front wheel assist and four-wheel drive. Right here is going to be the lever. So up is going to be on, down is going to be off. And then moving right in front of that is the clutch pedal. Now, if you are familiar with older style tractors or grew up driving tractors, then you know all about this clutch. But if you are new to the compact utility world and have only driven a select few, you may not be familiar with the clutch. But this is the pedal that we have to use in order to perform any type of transmission function. So anytime we're going to start the tractor, anytime we're going to change gears from forward to reverse, like I said before, or any ranges, gears, or the PTO, the clutch on this tractor must be pressed in. So it's right there at the left at your foot. Now, moving right here underneath our seat, we're going to have a couple of things here. For one, this is where that seat slide is going to be that I was talking about. Then we're also going to have our hydraulic fill, and we're also going to have our hydraulic dipstick right back behind that. Now, moving up here onto the dash. To the left-hand side is going to be our forward and reverse selector. Now, like I said, remember, anytime we're selecting either forward or reverse, we have to have that clutch pushed in. Next to that is going to be our DPF system button here. Now, this system is for the exhaust cleaning system that comes standard on almost all tractors nowadays, and this is just another step to helping make sure that exhaust is clean when it's coming out of our tractor. So this button has an auto position. It has this little puff of smoke next to the P, which is a park position, and then it has a bottom position here, which is turning that system off. So what you need to know here about this switch is that we never want to put this into turning that system off, because then if we do, we could cause ourselves issues with having buildup of soot in that exhaust cleaning system and cause our tractor all types of issues. Your best bet here is to always leave this in auto. Now, what that is going to do is, as you're using your tractor, whenever this tractor needs to clean its exhaust system, as long as that switch is in auto, it's going to do the cleaning that it needs to do. Now, the park position button here, this is going to be for a parked cleaning or a parked regen. So if it flashes up here on your screen with the same symbol that we see here, that means you need to find a place to park your tractor, leave it on, push that up into the park position, and then leave that tractor, let it run, let it do its thing until that button goes, or until that light rather goes away off of your screen. Then we can put this back down into auto. Now, below that is going to be our turn signal switch. So it's just going to be an old school style switch here. We can turn it either from the left or the right. Now, over on our right hand side, we are going to have a button here that is going to be for our screen. So we'll go ahead and turn that screen on. Right there, we can see all the lights flash up. Right now, we can see that it is showing engine hours, but if we click this button here, it's going to show us different things like vehicle hours, PTO hours, the soot level on our exhaust, what percentage our exhaust filter is at, so on and so forth. So we have that button to click through those different things. Now, up on our screen, above our screen, we are going to have our RPM gauge and also our temperature gauge, and then below that is going to be all sorts of lights that could light up to tell you what's going on with your tractor. For instance, right here we are showing that the battery or power to the tractor is working and that we are in park, and then our oil button is flashing up here because we do not have the tractor turned on yet. So we can go ahead and turn that off right there at the key switch, which is going to be right below our steering wheel here. Now, below the button that we just used to go through the screen on the tractor is going to be our lights button. So right over here we're going to have a hazards position that is only going to run our hazard lights. Then we're going to have a hazards and lights position, which will have our running lights on and our hazards. And then we can go all the way to the other side just to have our working lights on there at the front. Now, to the right of that is going to be our throttle lever right here. So very easy. We have the rabbit and turtle. And then below that on the column is going to be our parking brake lever. Now, this is going to work directly with our brake pedals, which is over here to the right. So whenever we push this in, we can release that parking brake by pushing it down, and then you see our brakes come back out towards us a little further. And if we push that in and raise this up, then that is going to lock in our parking brake. Now, a little bit about the brake pedals themselves. These tractors are going to have the dual braking system, which means that you see there that there are two pedals, and then there's that piece of metal in between them that is holding them together. That is what's called a brake lock. That's going to keep it to where those brakes will work simultaneously. Now, these brakes specifically go towards our rear wheels. So if you're an experienced operator, you're used to this two brake system, you know that we can unlock these pedals and use those two brake pedals independently, and sometimes that's done in order to make tighter turns. So if we undo that lock on top, then our brake pedals are separate, and the left is going to go to our left rear wheel, right is to our right rear wheel, and that is going to stop either side independently to help us make that turn. Or if you're just an operator that prefers that, you have that right there. Now, right back behind our brake pedal, this is going to be a floor throttle. So it's going to do the same thing that we are doing up here with our throttle lever up top, but some people like to drive with that foot throttle, so you do have that option there. Now, moving back from the foot throttle is going to be a lever here that is meant for your heel. This is going to be our differential lock. So this is what's going to lock in our rear wheels whenever they're working, to make sure that they're working at the same pace at the same time, locking in those differentials. It's going to help us get out of those sticky situations. So when we're in those situations where we have a lot of muck, a lot of grime, a lot of mud, we're in those sticky, stuck situations, this is where this is going to come in handy whenever we have our four-wheel drive engaged and lock our rear differentials. This is where we're going to get the most traction out of our tractor. Now, moving up a little bit, we'll see a knob that has a picture of a dropping 3-point arm. This is going to be the knob that helps us to adjust our rate of drop. So that's what's going to allow your 3-point arms to either go down slow or fast whenever it is released by the 3-point lever, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Now, moving to the right of that is going to be our 4-speed gear shift here. So this is going to have gears 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, whenever you hear me talk about the 8x8 transmission, how that works is we've talked about our 2 ranges that are over to our left, and then we have 4 gears over here to our right. So you have A range, which would have 4 gears, and then B range, which would have 4 gears, which makes for 8 gears total. And then to make it an 8x8, that means we also have a forward position and a reverse position where all 8 of those gears would work. So we have 8 forward gears, 8 reverse gears. There we have the 8x8 transmission. Now, moving right back from our gear shift, for one is going to be that seat belt that we talked about just a minute ago, but then our lever here is going to be our 3-point raise and lower. So to raise or lower right here, it's just a push forward or a pull back, and then we also have a position lock with this little knob right here that we can loosen, move back, tighten it down. That way we can lock in that position when we're using those rear implements to make sure they go right back in the same place every time when we're using them. Now, while I'm on the tractor here, I'll go ahead and fire this thing up so you can hear how it sounds. Now, whenever you go to start this machine, everything has to be in neutral. So our range selector, gear selector, and our forward and reverse selector all have to be in neutral. Go ahead and fire it up there. Now, that is at low idle. So if we raise up on our throttle here, a little bit louder there. That is at about 2,600 RPM. So I'll go ahead and lower this back down. Now, also, since we do have a loader on this machine, of course, we are going to have a loader lever over here on the right-hand side to the right of our steering wheel. This is going to be very standard operation. We're going to have down for up. To the right is going to dump our bucket. To the left is going to curl our bucket or whatever implement we have on. And then up here is going to be to lower that loader down. Now, one thing that we also have here on the loader lever to the right-hand side is going to be the loader lock. So all this is going to do is actually lock the lever here itself. So right now with that lock on, I cannot move this up and down, which means I'm not sending any hydraulic fluid through the valve itself. Now, this is not necessarily going to lock the actual loader out itself, but this will prevent the lever from being hit here on the tractor to potentially lower that lever down. So then once we push that knob back in, then we lower down on the loader, and then our lever works just like it would before. So I'll go ahead and put this thing into gear. So we're gonna go into A gear, we're gonna go forward, and we'll go into, let off of our parking brake here, raise up on our loader, raise up on our throttle just a little bit, and then as we let off the clutch here, then we'll start to move. So we're just creeping along very, very slowly. So then to move into reverse, I've got to clutch, go down, down into reverse, and then now I'm in reverse. So this is going to be different than what you're probably used to if you have done any dealings with compact tractors in the past, because normally these tractors, like I talked about in the beginning, are going to have the 2-pedal system where we can switch from forward to reverse very, very easily. Now in this tractor, it's not a hard thing to do, but we do have steps we have to go through. We have to clutch, we have to make sure and change our gears, change from forward to reverse, or change those gears to be able to change speed. So just a little more going on with this tractor. But with this geared 3D, some of the things that you're going to get is you're going to get a heavier tractor, which I'll talk a little bit more about weight here in a minute. And you're also going to get more lifting capacity at the rear and more towing capacity. So this is going to be a great tractor for pulling, not going to be what is going to be ideal for loader work, but can work if it's something that you're used to. Now, moving to the rear of the tractor, a couple of things that we're going to have back here. For one, up top is going to be our diesel fill. This is going to have a 9.7 gallon diesel tank on it. And then over on the other side is going to be our fuel gauge that's actually faced towards the driver. That way it's very easy to look over your right shoulder and be able to see your fuel level. Very easy right there from the operator station. Now our lifting capacity here at the rear on our 3-point, which is a category 1 3-point hitch, is going to be 2,081 pounds. So right there close to the 2,100 pound range, but just not quite. But this is going to be a standard category 1 3-point hitch. We're also going to have a 540 PTO shaft here at the rear that is going to come usually with that cover on the shaft there for protection, and then also a drawbar here at the rear. Now this is going to be a 3-position drawbar. It's going to have 2 working positions where we can telescope that in or out to fit that operation. Then it's also going to have a storage position where it's pushed most of the way in, not going to be useful in operation, but it does have those 3 positions for that hitch drawbar. Now, tire options is sometimes something that gets completely overlooked when we're looking at these little tractors, but on the 3035D, you are going to have 3 different tire options. What we have on this machine is going to be the R4 industrial tires. This is a good middle of the road tire that's going to be not too aggressive, not too soft, where you can use it in many different applications of working. But you can also get the R3 turf tires. So if you are using this in a turf application, where we're going to be on, grounds that we want just minimal disruption or minimal damage to that, we can get the turf tires on this machine. Or if we're working in more of an ag style setting where we're going to need more lugs, heavier lugs, taller grip points here on the tires, we can get an R1 ag tire, which is going to be what you normally see on your larger tractors with the large V pattern on them. Now, last but not least, let's talk about warranty and price. So on this 3035D, it is going to have the same warranty as all of the other John Deere compact utility tractors. This is going to be a 2-year 2,000 hour bumper to bumper warranty, along with a 6-year 2,000 hour powertrain warranty. And then you also have the ability to add additional warranty on to your 2-year bumper to bumper warranty. Now, also, whenever we're looking at price on these machines, around the list price on these machines is going to be around that $30,000 mark. Now, this can vary depending on multiple different things. We can get cheaper if we go without the loader, depending on year model and what type of incentives and discounts are going on at the time. This price could change. So what I always suggest to everybody is, if you're looking for one of these tractors, make sure to go check out your local dealership so you can get the best price possible. But overall, guys, I hope this video helped you out. I hope you liked this video. If it did, we just ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, guys, if you have any parts needs for your John Deere equipment, make sure to go check us out at 247parts.com. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.